My name is Julie Ying. I wanted to make movies since I was about 12 years old, but instead of making them, I was studying them. Living a pretty quiet academic life in Toronto, only 4 months away from getting a university degree. Then I got a call from writer-director Glenn Morgan. He offered me a job as his assistant on New Line Cinema's Willard, starting in the new year and shooting in Vancouver, British Columbia. Without even having to think about it, I immediately said yes.
Hi, this is a message for Julie. It's Roberta calling from Vancouver. I'm one of the production coordinators on Willard, and just wanted to let you know that we have pushed a couple of days. So we are starting back in the new year on the 7th as opposed to the 2nd, the 7th of January.
Upon hearing this, my parents asked me a very simple question. Why? Why am I so willing to pack my bags, say goodbye to film school, and embark on a road trip across the cold roads of wintertime Canada, some 4,300 kilometers to Vancouver? All that just to goof around on a remake of some cheesy 70s horror movie about a bunch of killer rats? The truth of the matter is that if you look deeper, the filmmaking process becomes a lot more complicated. It takes a lot of hardworking people to create a movie, so I took this opportunity to make a movie about them, and this is what I saw.
Crispin! Cut!
Do they know each other?
Can you show me this, please?
Rolling.
James Wong and Glenn Morgan began their creative partnership in a high school English class, having to critique each other's short stories. Their next 20 years has led them from writing and producing in television into directing their own feature films. Their memorable work on such series as The X-Files and Millennium, and film projects Final Destination, The One, and now Willard, has given them a reputation in the film industry as genre filmmakers.
And I think people kind of put sci-fi and horror in the same, not in the same genre, but sort of cousins.
Not really in the same genre.
Oh, yeah. There we go again. Second time.
That's probably not a good thing, though. The lights go off.
No, they haven't already.
They haven't already.
They do that sometimes.
When I was directing The One, I think Glenn took the time and opportunity to write Willard.
I told Rob McLaughlin, the DP, about Willard when we go, hey, Rob, remember that? And when we were on the set of The One, in between setups, we go, we could do this, we can do this. Casey Hotchkiss, who was the camera operator, early on, he goes, hey, what movie is this from? You Made Me Hate Myself. And I thought, who told him?
He was so anxious to do it that, or that he was so excited to do it, they just kind of ran with it, and you know, I'm thrilled about it, actually.
Glenn wrote the script based on the screenplay of the original film. He wrote the part of Willard with his friend, actor Doug Hutchison, in mind, and the female lead, Catherine, for his wife, Kristen Cloak. Glenn and Jim's agents sent the script out to New Line, along with 2 live caged rats and a budget proposal.
It varies. When we were in full construction mode, there were probably about 175 people.
Linda, visual effects.
Rick Lazzarini, animatronics.
Boone, rats. Mark, art department.
Catherine, art department.
Helga, script supervisor.
Lou, stunts.
Bob, special effects.
The guy in the corner.
Patrick, sound.
A year ago, we were shooting The One. I was able to sit there with Glenn when he was first starting to write the script, and we could talk about the visual approach that we wanted to take to it, and started kicking ideas around.
They should descend so fast.
Wow.
They should look like cockroaches. You know, you see the cat go, boom, like that, and then you cut to the eye, right?
When you're approaching a film, the best thing you can possibly have is lots of time to think about how you want to visually approach the film.
Now these will read dark, but you see that gives it like sort of a vintagey quality. This is gray, this is blue.
What about using that hedge as to where they appear?
The beauty of all that extra prep time is that you can adopt and then reject different ideas, and you can let them actually develop rather than having to hit the floor running, for instance, the way you do in episodic, or...
Perfect. Nice.
you know, with only a month or two to really get your head into it, usually in most feature film preps. Usually that's not enough time to make a radical shift in terms of the design, because how you shoot something and how you light something is also absolutely inextricably woven to this. It's okay.
For those available at 4:30 to 6:30, we're screening Psycho. And then after that, we're watching The Birds. So for anyone interested in getting into the groove of things...
You can watch the movies we're going to rip off.
I couldn't think of any movies in terms of the lighting tone or the mood that were what I wanted to do with this. Glenn was really specific about some of the Hitchcockian influences that he had in terms of how to use the camera. For me, it was the Chicago painter Ivan Albright that really, his work really summed up how we wanted this house to feel and how we wanted Mom to feel and everybody else. They're not flatteringly lit by any means, but I think it really works for the story, and it's real at the same time.
With Glenn, you read a lot between the lines. He speaks in shorthand, and fortunately I speak the same shorthand. Interestingly, the mechanics of the house, which is a key player, of course, are rooted in his own personal home. He boarded the film using his home as a template, so we blew it up and made it meaner, bigger character. The idea in general was to make the film a pretty unfriendly place, to create Willard's environment so he had nowhere safe or comfortable to turn to. Ever since Willard's dad died, there'd been no improvements to the company physically, and certainly no creature comforts for the staff, and it manifested itself in it being the very worst environment humanly possible for people to work. Glenn picked the color.
Like the snot green.
Exactly.
Several methods were adopted to ensure a good performance from the rats. However, the real rats proved surprisingly effective.
That's amazing. That looks really good.
Thank you. A lot of work all the time.
Oh, yeah. It's great. So the trainer's going to practice with it?
They've been practicing with it for weeks.
About 8 months ago, I got a call from our producer, Bill Carrara, saying, look, we're doing this remake of Willard. Are you familiar with the movie? And of course, in my generation, it was that big movie about 1971. I thought I could make his movie for him with the rats, and fortunately, I surrounded myself with some great trainers, and there were 6 American trainers and 4 Canadian trainers, and there were 550 rats. Every rat was assigned a number. There's a little number under every tail on the rat, so when you're looking at this DVD, maybe you can look and see if you can see any. Then we broke them down to particular stunts and action that they had to do. We had our jumpers and our climbers and our chewers, and then, of course, the rats that had to sit on Willard's shoulder, and the nice rats and the close-up rats.
There's too many things to teach one rat everything. There's a double for this rat of what he knows, another one knows. If not as much as him, maybe just a little less.
We took about 4 months to train 550 rats up to play the different characters and parts in the movie. One was obviously Ben, who is an African Gambian rat. They're the largest rat in the world.
Are these things really marsupials?
Yes, and they're nocturnal. Well, the Gambian rats were actually bred in the United States, and there are people who have bred them, and there are people who have tried to train them, and they haven't been very successful.
Someone give me a peanut or something?
So we were taking on something totally new to us because we'd never trained Gambian rats before and didn't know if they could be trained or not. But our head trainer, Mark Harden, has done a phenomenal job. In fact, more scenes, I think, were added in the movie because of his training ability and what he had done with those Gambian rats.
Oh, he's going to try to do that?
Well, because he kind of goes still like that. This doesn't hurt him at all. This is a litter. She's the mom. Yeah. Of all these rats. Cutest
yeah, they really are, yeah. This would not be a scary movie.
We shot a bunch of tests with the rats, and one of the first thing that struck me was that if you put too much light on the rats, if they were lit at key, they were just too darn cute, and they didn't start to get really creepy until they became more like rat-like shapes against a darker background. You know, the rat you think you can see is scarier than the one you can see.
With the rats ready to go and the sets nearly finished, only one element was missing.
So driving up Robertson, where New Line is at, Kristen was driving, and I said, Willard, with Doug. That's how it was. And not like really writing it for Doug. You never know, Doug's got another movie, Doug doesn't want to do it. But, you know, it'd be great. So at that point, they start getting different people in their heads. Right before the holidays, they go out to Joaquin Phoenix. Beginning of January, he passes. They want to go to Mark Ruffalo. I go, okay. They go, here's the script. Here's our offer. We start February 13th. So whatever that is. Usually, sometimes they go on a Thursday. You know, they take it, they read it. Monday, nobody in Hollywood does anything.
Yeah, there's no way around that. You still have to add the days.
Tuesday, Wednesday, you get a pass. Out to the next guy, Wednesday night, Thursday. Every Friday, we're looking at pushing what?
Well, our schedule now, I think, helps that a little bit.
Yeah.
We don't have an actor today. It's Wednesday.
The schedule here, I've never seen a schedule so well put together. And then these guys kind of want something else, and so you're back to waiting to the last minute to see what it's going to look like.
Sure.
And then they went to Macaulay Culkin.
What if Willard was a girl?
Willard.
Yeah. Thought of it already.
You know?
Starring Nev Campbell.
There's money pouring out of here. There's talks of push and this and that.
Assume a total shutdown. Shutting down for 2 weeks, carrying all the gear, and the people and the rat trainers and the editors and paying for that, as opposed to pushing for 3 weeks to start here.
Well, it's 4 weeks.
What's cheaper?
That's an expensive proposition.
Yeah.
Your animal trainers are up here, they're all being housed. Your effects people are all up here,
rats
they're all
are
being
being
fed. I'm up here, I have to be fed. Julie's got film in the camera. But, you know, it's all got to fall into place immediately, basically.
The pressure's off. If you had Crispin Glover. New Line ran out of names, so we said, how about Crispin Glover? And I think in that process, there was another actor's agent who told an executive at New Line, if Crispin Glover's in that movie, I want to see it 75 times and I still won't be satisfied. And that got New Line going.
11 days before principal photography was scheduled to start, a decision is finally made. Every department will shut down until there is a cast. Glenn and Jim return to Los Angeles to continue their search for Willard. Hi, Glenn. Everything's pretty much set here in Vancouver to start production, and the only thing we don't have is Willard. Even though
Or Catherine or the boss.
Or Catherine or anybody. What are you feeling right now about the casting situation?
Pretty frustrated, and I don't know. It's the going rate. Very often you go to the last minute, so I know that's part of the game. The later that we push, the more expensive that push becomes, But I don't believe it's a case where, well, we didn't find a Willard, let's shut down the movie. The movie will be made. You just don't know who's in it.
In the case of not getting Doug, we sort of came to New Line with our cards on the table. It's not a tracking shot. We're actually moving the background. I wondered if we hadn't done that, would we have gotten to Doug in a different way? Now, I'm thrilled. That's not to say that I'm not thrilled with Crispin. I think he's an inspired choice. I think he's the perfect choice for this movie.
Now, I see Crispin. It's not like, oh, I was really worried that whoever they were going to get, at one point, an actor would be shoved on me that I'd always go, oh, what would it have been like if I'd had my first choice, would have my second choice. I'm really, really happy.
Crispin, everybody knows, and I think that's why the studio really wanted him, but I think he was a really, really good choice.
Kristen got knocked up and over there doing a puzzle. We read some actresses, and John Pepsica.
got knocked up, but you didn't say why.
Oh, I did it.
Yeah, but you didn't say the significance of it.
Oh, well, Kristen, the part was written for Kristen. She became pregnant, and she became pregnant.
What had happened is that
I was still going to do the movie because it was originally set to go when I was about 4 months pregnant. And so we thought, it wasn't really a requirement of the Catherine character to be, in her bikini. So we thought I would still do it. And then what happened was they decided on Crispin, and his schedule kind of screwed with the schedule of the movie, so they pushed it back. And I would have been 8 months pregnant while they were filming the movie. And so I didn't do it.
The Catherine role goes to Laura Herring, hot off Mulholland Drive.
77J toma dos.
I think that Laura helps the movie in a way that I wish I could have, but I don't think that I could. She just came off a huge movie that did incredibly well, and I think that her profile is much higher than mine. In that respect, ultimately, when I look at the picture, I go, that's a pretty good cast.
What are you doing?
What I did think was good about the script was that the textures underneath.
Crispin and I talked about this guy whose kind of frustration and anger and belief that sort of other people have messed up his life is kind of manifests these rats in his house.
It almost feels like the rats have that kind of symbol of like anger building up and coming out and becoming an id that's out of control. There seem to be a lot of psychological subtextual elements.
And I think the horror movies I really like, there's something going on that's kind of natural that may seem to bring on the horror, like an exorcist Ellen Burstyn's gone through a divorce, or a psycho Janet Leigh stole the money, that there's something that starts all that. So his relationship with his mother, I mean, we're trying to deal with that, to explore that and have a depth level there, that it's not just,
How do you think Socrates felt? How do you think Socrates felt when you stuck him?
Yeah, right there.
Answer me!
Who in the hell is Socrates?
And it is what?
Still.
When you stuck him.
Yeah, you can be like, who in the hell is Socrates?
Answer me!
He's in front of your head, then you're really gonna whack him. That's great. That's
In case you could hit me in the arm and knock me off or out of the
We'll
chair
work that
or the
out.
chair
Yeah,
too.
we'll work that out today. I want that to, that's the explosion to the scene. Boom, boom, whack. Hey, did you buy outfits for the party?
This is the first time you've done a feature. You've done a couple. How do you decide who does what?
He's sort of understanding now. But when we were doing the one about a year ago, I said, I can't produce anymore. It's torture. I think now he understands what I was going through.
I totally understand where he's coming from, although it's a different situation because I've sort of already directed 2 movies, whereas he hadn't gotten a chance to do what he always wanted, which was to direct a movie. And I'm also glad to sort of feel or more of what he was feeling, which is, as a producer of a movie, there's important things to do, but you're not in the process the whole time, where you're not really doing anything sometimes. And I can see where the frustration can be.
Yeah, right.
It goes like this.
Yeah.
The first day of shooting is scheduled to be outside, but bad weather is predicted. As a precaution, Crispin and Laura rehearse the funeral parlor scene in case the location becomes unusable.
We'll make that call around 7 o'clock tomorrow morning.
They're calling for what is the problem with it if it did snow anyhow?
It's like, say we shot yesterday.
Right.
Then we're going to shoot today.
Right.
There's a whole difference.
Would that really be bad?
You just get a little spray.
Okay, here we go.
We're waiting for the first shot. And pretty exciting. I think it's going to be real good.
But look, it's still snow. At least we don't have too many nights and stuff. We'll get this out of the way. Get inside, yeah. So I think we might do 1 or 2. This isn't going to be a tough thing. Yeah, so you're coming over here.
Isn't this exciting? It's the first shot. Woohoo!
Camera. Action, Willard.
Okay, cut.
We've cut.
The rat's got a phone call.
How does producing compare to directing?
There's a lot less action. Pretty much sitting around a lot, making a couple of suggestions once in a while. Pretty much just sitting around a lot.
Here we go. Ready and cue range.
Rolling. Basically, we just deal with the public, help keep people quiet when we, do lockups, when we roll, set up tents, take care of garbage, set up pylons. I like to kind of imagine myself as sort of creative. I like to make films, and I thought it was a good way to learn the industry. And when I started, I was always, put me on set, I want to watch movies being made. And now that I'm just here to collect my hours, I'm pretty happy to be in a parking lot. I have no problem with that. It gives me lots of time to think about my movies, really, and, come up with stories and stuff like that. And,
Brother, can you think you can head down to Alberta in 11th and let Brent go for a 10-1?
yeah, definitely. I'm just doing the interview right now, so it'll be maybe 5 minutes.
Say what?
I'm just doing that interview for the documentary on the show, and I'll be done in like 5 minutes.
You're kidding, right?
What's it like filming all these monkeys?
Hello.
I don't know, I haven't gotten anything very interesting today, unfortunately.
Yes, another shutout for Julie. But don't worry, we know that tomorrow she's going to come back and shoot some hot stuff.
Everybody thinks when you meet him, he's about to kick you in the head or something, or he's, just into really weird things, or he's going to behave irrationally or something, and that's not what I found. He was well aware and patient of the filmmaking process. Again, you get a lot of actors, especially in television, who've been working for, 7 months straight on a series, get impatient with the lighting, even though it's in their best interest to look good. What are we hanging around here, And you never had any of that.
Apart from, where we placed the camera in relation to Willard, some of which was determined in some hair and makeup tests that we did with Crispin Glover, we also found that he looked fabulous with a wide-angle lens. One of the things a wide-angle lens does is that it requires the camera to be closer to them, which in turn, when you're watching it on a big screen, pushes the character much more into the audience's face. And it also has some subtle distortion, which really work with his fabulous profile.
You really have to be kind of, well-versed on a lot of different things to be able to run with him.
When I started watching films was when I was 16. When I turned 16, I started being able to drive, and I went and saw Eraserhead over and over again. And I started exploring films more at that point.
I've done it a couple of times now. What do you do? Klaus Kinski, he uses it in a Gary Rapid God. If this is the camera, you put your foot on this side of the camera lens and then step around that way. And it's just a neat entry because you have a blank thing and then the person, and you can just stand there and look too. Yeah.
Well, we do that with the bags.
Yeah. I saw interesting films even as a kid. I liked Dr. Strangelove when I was a kid. I liked Freaks when I was 8 or 10 years old, and it was a great film. So I saw things, and I always liked certain things, and it was later on when I started drawing together similar directors that I was drawn to, and so in studying things more, I became more of a cinephile, and I've been making my own movies, and that ultimately is my favorite thing to do. Really, in the last couple of years, I've been working on things almost mainly to be able to afford making my own films. But it's interesting that at the same time that I'm doing that, actually more interesting things are coming along in terms of acting stuff like this.
Action!
All aspects of filmmaking interest me, and I'm less acting-centric about it. It's certainly where I came from, but I definitely know the importance of all of the various elements, and I take a great interest in when those elements are done well, and when I'm watching something.
And promise or no promise, I refuse to allow the other rats to eat me because of you!
Because you're going to get eaten by the rats, that's the thing to slam the door, because that's sort of the, you know, the dark humor to it. And once you slam the door, just, you can...
I want a director that'll work with me to make the best damn scene possible, and Glenn Morgan's that director. He's very flexible. He's not married to any words in his script. And then, of course, I rewrite a lot.
I will catch up.
The actor needs to be able to make adjustments to the dialogue in order to bring forth a real character.
Suck up more overtime than
Mr. Martin, he may be evil, but at least he's witty.
But you'll catch up on your own damn time. Gee! Damn, I need about 10 more employees just like him so I can go out of my fucking mind.
Sometimes I read the written word and I say, I wonder if the writer even bothered to say that line back. Remember one day I was having a hell of a time with one line. I can't remember what it was now.
Physical.
Disciplinary, yeah, it was such a, there were something like 16 syllables in 4 words. And we mastered it, we did it, and we got it, but boy, it was tough. And the only reason I did it was because I really couldn't think of any way to improve upon it.
See, when he came in after his tires were eaten up, and he said, I want to play it like I'm looking for sympathy, that was a great way to play it.
We've ranted, we've raved, we've done this in several scenes already. Why doesn't Mr. Martin come in and look a little bit messed up and speak in a civilized tone? And this is just another charade that he's able to put on, looking for a little sympathy from the folks in the office. And Glenn bought it. Of course, if it didn't work that way, I was totally prepared to come in and rant and rave.
Shit! I need 3 or 4 more goddamn idiot employees like that so I can go out of my mind and spend the rest of my fucking life in an insane asylum!
Are you getting any good behind-the-scenes footage, my dear?
You're making it very good for me.
He's an auteur.
Huh?
You're an auteur. What's that mean, Casey?
I'm a tired slob at the moment.
It means it's an auteur is a filmmaker who's encompasses all aspects of filmmaking, including standing in.
Auteur, you know, small amphibious animal.
That too.
I think I read a quote Martin Campbell said, unless I opened the soundstage in the morning, I didn't, you know, I think that film by thing is ridiculous. Everybody's got a part.
And secondly, I think a directing credit is a high honor. I really don't need the film by credit because the directing credit is plenty enough.
You never get collectives in films, you know, it's such a hierarchy, and so I mean that's not fair. I mean even this film in a way is a collaboration, but normally I would say the business is not like that. So it seems to me that we don't credit that collaboration. We still try to turn it into a kind of I'm the director.
Unless you're like, if you're Hitchcock or Spielberg or somebody, or Scorsese or somebody who knows who you are, it's really nothing more than an ego boost, I think.
The great filmmakers, you know, the Kubricks and the Hitchcocks, the Eisensteins, you know, the people that invented it. I look at this and I hope this turns out okay, but yeah, those are definite influences. And I always, you know, in a DVD commentary, I always feel, you know, Martin Scorsese seems pretty frank. In Taxi Driver, when Travis Bickle's walking down the street, he goes, I just stole this dissolve from Shane. It always makes you feel so much better. Yeah, that'd be great to steal shot from The Shining.
What is that? Oh, yeah, and Clockwork Orange.
I look at a Kubrick movie and go, man, that's the way he sees the world. It's a whole new approach.
I mean, in that sense, so is this film. I mean, it's very definitely the way Glenn and Jim want to peek at it. I guess auteur is just the word that people sort of, what they don't like anymore. It's sort of like claiming the movie entirely. But a film with a vision, you know, it's what you want to see, right?
The day that Mr. Martin fires you, Willard rams his head into the door.
Right. Yeah, what happened on that day was...
I told him that it was all about, you know, giving in and surrendering, that he had given up.
We've done it a lot where I come in and I'm dumbfounded, but it's like at this peak, or leading up to the peak, the next scene I have with him, I kill him, basically, right?
Correct, but
Yeah.
I think that this is like his further... If Ms. Leach hadn't killed Socrates, then, you know, he might have worked up the nerve to ask Catherine out to dinner that night, and he wouldn't have gone insane, and so it should be like his lowest point.
Don't give me that look.
It wasn't actually accurate what I was planning to do, even in the rehearsal, even for myself. But Lee Ermey saw what I was doing in the rehearsal, and Lee Ermey thought that I should be upset and pathetic. I think he took it as a different element of what I was doing. He took it as being defiant, which I was not planning to do.
Don't give me that fucking face, asshole.
He was helpful there.
Summon the goddamn house. You can go.
He kind of went with his emotions, that at that moment that's what maybe he would do or he thought Willard would do, and that's why it was unexpected.
It's been my nature to completely come up with the look and feel and everything about the character, although I was taught not to change lines. That extended into very much, in a certain way, having a rigid way of working and not wanting to let out what it was that I was planning to do, or even to the director or anything, that it would somehow spoil a secret. And I know why, and it's something that early in my career I experienced a lot, where I would change the intention of what was written. I wouldn't change the lines, but the subtext would go against maybe what the writer had intended for the character to do. And that one, it was going very much with what the emotion of the thing was. But the thing is that it wasn't something that I had planned out before.
And that was the weird thing, is that when he did it, it was so unexpected. I don't know if it affected an audience the way it affected all of us here on the set. It'd be great.
Well, I remember there was concern also. Jim came up and they're saying, should we reshoot this?
We're filming the middle first, then we're gonna go back and film the beginning, and then we're gonna do the end. It's hard to, you know, you're trying to keep how the movie's gonna go and what the rhythms are gonna be, and I don't know, it might really work, it may really not, because we may not want to be there at that point.
You want actors to bring something else to a role, more than what you thought or what you saw. At the same time, you don't want to go so far off track of what you thought a scene was about, or, you know, the particular reaction might be too big. I think the only thing we have to be concerned with is that Willard gets too big too early. Because he's such an intense actor, you can end up tipping your hand a little bit where the story's going when you don't want to, if you're not careful.
I'm starting to realize that it's definitely, it's better, especially when you trust the director, to really have an open idea so everybody knows what's going on.
I'm excited by what he does. I want to be sort of surprised when I see it, and everyone says they're excited about seeing Crispin Glover in this movie. That's probably one of the things that they're looking to see. So I don't want to sit on that.
Glenn came up to me and said that night that he and Jim went out, and Jim was saying, well, the more I think about it, the more I like it. So, yeah. I haven't seen it yet, but I feel like that will be good. So, yeah.
It's not a bad rhythm. You don't have to overdo it, but you look in, you got your reactions, you take a sip, check it out.
Young director teaching the old horse how to watch more.
Notice how he just kind of...
Where's the rat come from?
The rat is just sitting there.
Is it sitting on the mouse?
That might look too sexual.
So you want to try it with him just on?
Ready to bite shit out of somebody, are you? There you go.
That looks pretty sexual.
Oh.
Here I am looking at dirty movies.
I forget.
We got this little sweet guy just jumps up there and starts humping away.
Yeah. We don't want to see that. We don't want to. Okay, cut.
Here we go.
Good.
Excellent.
And you're doing it on this?
I'm doing it on this.
You
I'm
are.
doing it
so
on the
it gives you
rats.
something to do.
Yeah, it's just part and parcel of our partnership, I think. Anything I can do to help this production, and I think that's a good way to use my skills.
Yeah, it's, you know, if we're in a meeting, we're anything, we don't have to consult with each other. So there's no better second unit guy for each of us.
Let's do it.
Not sure exactly.
Which one? Which one?
No. Do you think
Back out a bit.
his whiskers are not moving, as quivering as much as it needs to? No. Soft.
All right, stand by for picture. We'll give 10 seconds on each image.
Go.
Next.
Go.
Next.
Go.
Next.
What's that?
Go.
Scroll, how do I describe that? We're on number 14. Scroll to butt shot.
What's up with your husband's thing with porn in all his films?
Porn? I don't know.
What's the penchant for pornography in all of your work?
It's too late. I'm in deep. Look, I'm pregnant. It's too late to bring these things up. He thinks porn is funny. It's the best I can do.
You know what? I don't, in a way. I think that people have this quiet thing that this character would stay at work and do that. And when I read it, Hitchcock said that if jeopardy is coming on a character and they don't know it, then they have to be doing the stupidest thing that there is. So the audience is going, don't smoke that cigarette on the schoolyard bench. There's birds coming. So here he's doing this, and when, you know, rats are amassing, so, and guys will go, and women will go, oh, I want him to get eaten by rats. Okay, ready to go?
$5 Friday. It's a game we play every Friday night. Everybody puts in $5, writes their name on a piece of paper. The lucky one who gets their name drawn out of this bag wins all the cash.
This crew that is everybody we worked with on Millennium and many on Final Destination, that's all important to the process also.
Hannibal Lecter, meeting Nell. So tell me, Nell, why did you leave that little chicken and cattle ranch in Montana? Half the faith of enema in a wind, Chicopee. Come on, that's
This has been such a hard show.
There's no politics, just everybody comes to work and we have fun and, you know, get the job done. That's all important too. So I think maybe in a way some of our ambition is giving way to just trying to make life
Streamlined.
go a little better.
Yeah.
He keeps the ambiance there very stable, very collected, a lot of sense of humor. So there's a lot of magic happening and people are liking each other. There's kind of a family feeling. And when you have that, it always translates on film. And Glenn's been amazing. He gives you a chance to play, to create on your own. The last take, he always says, do what you want. Sometimes specific, because if they wrote the project, they have a vision. And the more clear their vision, the easier it is to translate to the actor.
Glenn he's not a social person necessarily. He's pretty quiet. He's been called taciturn. He's been called shy. There was a certain enjoyment in having to watch him go out there and actually interact with people in a really bold and brave way and really put himself out there.
You don't have to do the sound.
There was a certain part of that was sort of like, No, I mean, not in a bad way. I mean, I don't enjoy watching him suffer, but, you know, it was something that I was worried about for him, and he did an excellent job. There were certainly times when they were filming that I felt down, just because I envied Laura's being directed by Glenn. It was a dream of mine to have worked with him in that capacity. But the most important thing was the movie, not whether I am in it or not.
We've got the $10 Friday draw for $1,230.
Not a show wrap, because she's going to be dealing with this movie for a long time, but Kristen's going back to LA, and this is her last day here, and I really want to thank her for being here. In honor of all the, what she's done for all of us, especially me.
Oh, great. Then everyone's going to hate me after I go.
One person really liked you.
Brian, special thanks.
You know, when you love somebody so much, their dreams are your dreams, and you wish so much more for them even than you do for yourself. And so in that respect, it was equally, if not more, fulfilling, especially because I didn't have to do the work. I could just sit and watch them.
People watching a film are going to get more upset when an animal is dying or in pain than they are about a human being. People just feel so much more towards animals than they do people. I think that's scary.
1, 2, 3.
Oh.
Cut.
Sad. Pull out a little more.
Something about filming Troy, the props guy, vacuuming a rat was cause for me to panic. Was this the most interesting thing I could be shooting? Where were all the on-set disasters for me to capture in the moment? And was this lack of conflict going to make my film boring?
Yeah, it's been a pleasant shoot, is what you mean. There haven't been like difficulties of like people fighting with each other. I would think just by the fact that it's a more true to the everyday workings of a film than most of these Entertainment Tonight type electronic video press kits are, I would think you'd just be able to get a more, I would assume there'd be interesting stuff.
And I imagine some films go smoothly and suck, and some films are a disaster, and everyone goes, that was a disaster from the start. I know I'd rather have this experience.
Well, maybe I should go like punch Glenn in the face just to give you something interesting.
No, I don't want that.
However, I did want, as Crispin said, to capture the everyday workings of a film.
Hello, you've reached the Willard production office. The office is now closed and will reopen
on Thursday, May 16th at 8 a.m. Crew call for Thursday has been pulled back 1/2 hour to 10 a.m. If you wish to leave a message, do so after the tone. If you wish to send a fax, the number
You
is
have a half-hour pre-call with the crane guys?
9:30 with the pull.
Is that the last thing of the day?
Almost.
What happens when we wrap, Mike?
All my work starts, especially when we have a pull or a change. Run a second call sheet and then pull it. And it always happens, of course, at the last minute when I have a movie to go to. Tiny call sheets now. See the tiny call sheets? Here I go. When I first started, we didn't have these staplers.
How many times has the photocopier broken down?
Well, it's broken down right now. Key operator assistance required. Well, imagine what it was like before Xeroxes. Let's see if I can do 3 at a time. Good evening, Willard. Hello, Catherine. Very, very soon, I'm just cutting sides, and that's all. Nothing major. Almost there. I was saying to Roberta and stuff, I was saying, like, it's really hard to come in bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
Right.
And come into an office where everyone's sort of, it's a job. They're jaded. You know, it's funny.
I suffer from, well, about 90% of the time from what I call post-actors after-scene syndrome, which is, as I walk off the set, I say, oh, damn, why didn't I try this, or why didn't I do that? Every scene here, I've evolved the character into what I think is just about as good as I can do. All right.
Watch your heels, watch your heels.
Somebody kick the bottom of my feet. Kick it.
Well, do you want me to just kick you?
Sure.
Like that? Right. So what's the matter, Tiger? Afraid of a little blood? And then I'll kick you 3 times.
Okay, that's important. You can kick me as many times as you want prior to that.
Okay.
Don't get crazy on me now.
You tell me what you want.
That's fine, yeah.
Right on the
Yeah,
heel
that's
is
good. You
really
kick me a little harder.
Right on the heel. If you get him right on the heel, it's really good.
Okay, you got it.
Yeah. Watch the mic. Set. And action.
What's the matter, Tiger? Afraid of a little blood?
What am I thinking of when my character has to die in a real messy situation like that? I'm thinking about doing it in one take, and so that we don't have to reset, change clothes again, clean the actor or me up. My main objective was to sell that rat.
Oh, you did it.
There's one thing I hate when I do these messy scenes, and that is take 2. Always when your actor falls down in front of that camera to do a scene like that, you advise him to go full speed ahead, hold nothing back, go for broke. Plain and simple. Semper do or die. Out.
Don't kill it, you'll make it rain.
Day for Night, Francois Truffaut. It's a movie about a movie being made, and I think in a voiceover he says that when you start out, you begin wanting to make one of the greatest movie ever made, and then halfway through you just want it to be done.
It's been a particularly quiet show for the special effects department.
We do the usual stuff, explosions, bullet hits. There's none of that on this show. Well, for Willard, yeah, we had the blood gags, the tire gags, the wind, the rain, smoke, anything that flies through the air, anything that moves, anything that falls. A lot of the dust in the house was ours.
When you watch a movie, sometimes you go, this is sort of a transitional scene, you go, it's sandwiched by intense drama or big action or whatever, and you go, God, was it boring to film this scene? Because it's just over the shoulders, whatever, and I've found myself going, well, this is that scene that I watched, and you still have to kind of get into it because, you still have to try to make it work because those scenes aren't going to work if, stuff.
Does it just become a job? I always just think it's kind of a privilege.
Yeah, no, I never lose sight of that. I'm pretty fortunate I don't look at it. I've had jobs in a paper box factory and a plastics factory and stuff like that. It's hell. This is not that, but there's days when you're just not in the mood.
Smoke, fire, making shit fall on people. Nobody does it better than Bob Comer.
It's the head of the department over there. Veteran special effects man showing you how to wiggle a tree branch. It's a cedar tree branch.
And action.
Now, arborists are going to hate this movie because everybody knows that western red cedars do not grow in the state of New York under any circumstances. They can't take the winters, and the people are far too rude for them. They're very sensitive trees. They will put up with people like Bob Comer wiggling them by the branch, though. The nice thing on this movie is that if you're really kind of not into it that day, or you're really questioning yourself, you can go to Casey, the camera operator, or Rob, the cinematographer, and just go, what do you think? You think that's right? You got other people to help you. You're not alone.
Hey, Bob, the trees were shit on that one.
I think of when, every time movies over, you always have to be looking for the next one.
At first, I feel really empty because you're leaving a big family. It's been part of you for like many months. It's not the work so much you miss, it's the people that you're working with so close.
You know what? I'm taking a much more paranoid view. I think I'll never be hired again.
It's a joy thing, I think.
And then when I do get hired again, I wonder when the hell this show's going to be over.
Yeah.
I live in this dichotomy my entire life.
Generally, the atmosphere in the show was really lighthearted and fun and very easy, and it makes the closing of the show kind of hard to face.
You know, we're wrapping up here, and okay, I'll go in and edit, but right now, you know, everybody here is they're going off to get, you know, they're looking in at other jobs, and, you know, everybody's got to get another job, and it's kind of done quietly and all that stuff, and I start thinking of, what are you trying to go out, start peddling next? And you think about all the assholes that you have to, who's going to say no, and you know, and that may be affecting some of my mood, you know, because this is kind of, you know, wrapping up. That you have to go back out into that world that sucks all this, you know, out of it.
Do you have any insights you'd like to share? Dada. Dada, where is he? Where's Dada?
Dada is now an editorial, trying to pace up and prepare the film for the first test screening.
You know, you wish that you could use that test audience. Is it way too slow?
I don't think it's going to be way too slow.
Maybe you put this movie up and it's kind of slow and they go, hey, that was something different. Or maybe they go, oh, that's fucking torture. Then you can deal with it. But for now, I don't want to be...
The whole thing is
the worst
this.
thing is to get second guessing.
I don't think you should second guess yourself. I don't think you should take out stuff you don't want to take out. You know, you like every scene. It just feels a little slow getting into it. That is easily because there's no sound.
You know, Psycho, they don't get to Norman Bates' house for like 20 or 40 minutes or something like that. I mean, she's just driving in the car like this. They have a score that's going da-na-da-na-da-na-da-na.
Some sense of like, something's going to happen.
The music can supply what's not necessarily there, or a way of telling the audience.
Or just wait, be patient. Yeah, something's going to happen.
If there's a theme, a thing that you kind of want to try, so we can start, you know, playing around. And,
right. Loved, hated instruments that we have in the American vocabulary. Okay, we're talking about bagpipes, banjo, accordion.
The accordion was the natural choice here. It is a reed instrument. The sound of the accordion can fit within the context of the orchestra. And there's sort of a nerdy quality about the sound of that instrument that we just felt was perfect for the Willard character, for this guy who's just such a misfit, you know, who has no place in life that's comfortable for him. When it got to the point where I was bringing in a mock-up of the main theme for the musical score, I actually had a real accordion player come out and we recorded it so that the guys could really get the flavor. You know, the idea of the accordion and the actuality of it are you know, sometimes too far apart.
In this mock-up, it feels a little bit like when that accordion-like sound comes in, it feels completely crazy.
But the accordion is dangerous.
Yeah.
It's dangerous, but it's potentially, you know, fucking great.
Glenn, I think, was kind of immediately hooked and in love with the sound of it. Jim was more alarmed.
Look, I'm just afraid of seeing Amelie in my head.
Yeah, sure.
You know,
Yeah, but you know, but you know,
I'm
we'll
not
play
saying
around,
we shouldn't try it. I'm just saying that's what I'm afraid of. Is, you know, it's such a you have such a immediate response linkage to it.
French, they're going to think he's French. The sound of it just, you know, made him envision the little cafe, the romantic setting, and the sort of source music accordion sound. Jim was ever alert about just the percentage, you know, okay, as long as it's with the orchestra and it's not clearly sticking out too much, we're going to be fine. And Glenn was, well, no, I think we're okay here, you know. And so the two of them, as in many of their ideas about filmmaking and their conceptualizing, they're just enough apart and going in opposite directions to where they are a real good balance for each other. So I know if I've got Jim just a little bit alarmed and I've got Glenn not too like off the wall about, oh yeah, this is killer, this is just right, it's the only thing I can have, you know, if I've got those two things in balance, then I'm in good shape.
So how important is the first test screen?
It's everything, you know, and I so wish it wasn't that way, because it's the executive's first impression. If they go in there and it tested well and had good scores, they sense they have the possibility of a hit, so they like it better. And then you don't have to reshoot, you don't have to do additional shooting, you have to go through do stuff that you don't want to do to the movie, that you don't have to fight about it, you know.
I guess I was wondering if you could explain any positive aspects, if any, that come from test screenings.
Something positive is you sit down there with an audience of people, a moment happens and they laugh, or they jump, or they go, nah. If you're being objective at the time, the audience is reacting to it. And some things you didn't realize were funny, you know, they laugh at, and just to get the rhythm, it makes total sense to show. You can't, it's hard to show it to your family, because they're your friends, they're usually supportive. So to have a bunch of strangers reacting to the movie, absolutely.
Right, so now we're towards the screening.
It's an hour, I need 2 hours. I need to sober up.
Sober up?
I was nervous because I had no idea. You know, everybody could walk out, or things could go great.
Hold on for a second. What's this movie going to be rated? R. R, definitely. How many say R?
I don't need to look at the cards. You know when you lost them. I don't know, maybe the movie's bad.
What did Willard score the first screening?
They look at two things, excellent and very good, and will you recommend it to a friend? In Pasadena it was a 37, the national average being 55. I don't know if it was a combination of those martinis early, that hamburger, Jackass, the scotches, and then the whole situation. I go, I can't make it home. My head, I thought it was going to explode. And I got here, and Kristen's dealing with the baby. I go, okay, I'm just going to bed. I laid in bed, and I got up, and just everything came back out. Yeah. Yeah.
Picture right here. Yeah. Go back right there.
Kind of like taking arbitrary.
Well, you know,
They thought you could potentially cut out $30 to $40 million of your audience. That there's theater chains in the South that won't show an R-rated movie. That you can't have advertise an R-rated movie on television until after 9 o'clock. I think it's this stuff too, when it's all red.
There's one here. Yeah, I think that.
The stuff that was making you sick while you shot it. That the 15, 16-year-old kids that may want to see that movie, you're keeping them out of the theater because they're so strict on, 17 years old.
Okay, now, what about this? The burrowing shot.
It's no way.
It's not bloody.
Losing the gore, I don't mind because I think it's a little cheap. But, Jim and I own half of the movie, and if somebody owns half of the movie, why would, and it didn't test really high to an R-rated audience. Let's see how it tests to a PG, so that, I can get a bigger audience. So the more people can go see Crispin give this performance.
Want to just try one?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Dave, give me the layman's terms of ADR. What is ADR?
ADR is automated dialogue replacement, also known as looping. When you have dialogue that's unusable, either for technical reasons or if there's like a plot point or something that you want to clarify, and we remove the unusable dialogue from the production track and we replace it with, hopefully, in-sync recordings that we do here on the ADR stage.
That's pretty cool. A little more with feeling.
Yeah.
You can only use the word fuck once. You use it twice, you're an R.
Everybody is standing around with their thumbs up their butts. With their thumbs up their
Well, what the guy...
Buns?
Well, see, the thing is, what they're saying is it might even, just because it draws a visual picture, want to stay away from actually even referring to the butt.
I don't mind the PG. I missed a couple of Lee Ermey's jokes, but it's not like Jack Nicholson in The Shining where people are going to go no matter what the rating is.
Did you do a TV safe for Full Metal Jacket, or are they not even
No,
bothered?
Kubrick doesn't loop. We didn't loop anything.
I wonder if they just cut them out, they just drop them out.
It'd be a 10-minute movie.
If you can read this paragraph and then give me your thoughts on
Factors holding back or reasons for ratings.
why the ratings were low.
The main reason why the movie was not rated positively was that the story was considered to be weak and or pointless. The main secondary reason was not liking that the movie was about rats, or that there were too many rats, followed by the feelings that the pace was too slow in spots, especially in the beginning, that the movie was too gross, it was not scary enough, it was too long, boring, and silly or stupid. A few each also found it disturbing, weird, or unrealistic, inconsistent in tone, predictable, confusing, and did not like the ending.
Does it mean that the audience is stupid?
No, you love that it's too easy to say the audience is stupid. Too slow? Yeah, maybe it is. I mean, we're in a time where stories are told that way. I mean, it's not about anything, it's pointless, and I take offense to that. You know, just don't become what you hate. Does Willard need to die? It seems like he should have a comeuppance. I'm open to it. I'm open to it. As long as it be done, I don't feel that it betrays that theme, which apparently is pointless. No, I know exactly how you feel. Really, first and foremost, it's about Willard and your performance. And so when we trimmed that stuff out and everything, that was like, we, kept that intact. And so in that regard, I don't believe it's worth going back to an R for a couple of Lee Ermey's lines. The next day we met with New Line, and Bob Shea was like, I don't know. It's a terrific movie, but the audience just isn't going with it, And, he wants Jim and I to think about, is there another scene, additional thing to be shot? Is there a different way to end it? Bob Shea's he's really behind the movie. And out of, when you're working for a guy like that, compared to, these kind of bureaucratic studios, you owe it out of respect to him to sit down and sincerely think of something that we could do that we'd all still be proud of and could help him out. When you got to do a rewrite or stuff like this, 50% of the hard part is opening your mind to doing it. So, let's all, we'll think about it. If you happen to think anything in the middle of the night, call me the next day. Okay, bye.
How does it feel?
Yeah, he's pretty great. I mean, I think that Crispin is an artist who is very open to what the commercial needs are, and that, Bob has been, supportive of him and the movie and the whole deal, and you owe it to Bob to think about it. But it's like nobody from Crispin to Jim and I to all those people at New Line to my parents don't have, here's what you need. I feel like I don't know why I'm hesitating in saying complete obligation. They gave us a shot at our first movie. We shot at this movie, gave us a big part of this movie. And the nice thing about a place like New Line is that, generally, two experiences there, they leave you alone. It's not like, no, you gotta cut that out, you gotta cut that out, you gotta do that, you gotta do that. You can go, I want this, this is the way I saw it. They'll go, okay. I think that he does respect filmmaking. They're a smaller place, and want to get them their money back.
I do not think this is like bad studio intervention at all. I really do like this end better. I feel like this is a good structural addition. I mean, if it was just something that was pointless, I'd question it, but I don't think this is pointless.
You know, in the ending, I didn't want Willard to live. You know, all my favorite movies from the late 60s and mid 70s, all the heroes died.
And he mentioned the Milos Forman film, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and he mentioned Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
And I said, well, Butch Cassidy died. And he says, but they don't. It's a freeze frame, and they live on in legend.
A picture kind of freezes and comes forward, or this idea that they kind of live on in the people's minds. So yeah, there is this resurrection of the character.
You know, McMurphy in Cuckoo's Nest was strangled by the chief, but his spirit, and then Crispin would say, his spirit lives on in the chief who escaped. So every time I came up with something that I thought, oh, that was great that the guy died, he has said, no, they had some kind of reward.
I was thinking of it more literally when I started thinking of the possibilities of it, of some kind of heaven or something like that. But with the audience scores, I don't know how these things work. Maybe the film will not do so well, or maybe it'll do well. I don't know. I hope it does. I hope it does okay. It's hard to know. I feel like it's something that people will feel like it's more satisfying, but you never really know.
When we had our rehearsal a couple of days before the score, the accordion players told me, they said, well, surely this is already an international event. The word had just gone out like a flash.
These two things together, history is being made today.
My God, somebody's doing a film score with 6 accordions in the orchestra. Not just source music, but actually part of the score.
And
for having 6 accordions is that even though they are tuned, the tuning of the accordion can be rather imperfect. It's like if you can imagine a choir and they all had the same voice, like one person singing 60 parts, it just wouldn't be the same. So to have 2 on each of the 3 parts, you're getting just a smidgen of discrepancy between all the notes that they're playing, and it just gives it this flavor that's unbeatable.
And I think he would have been, really good too, but I've talked to Doug about it, and Crispin is just perfect. He did such a great job, and I can't imagine it ever being any other way.
There's no film by credit on this because it's insane to say that it's my film. I really believe it's everybody's movie here.
Willard.
Phil Nevin's out for the season. Trevor Hoffman's already out for the season. So the Padres are going to lose 110 games. Kristen's uncle got in a motorcycle accident. He's in intensive care. My first cousin passed away. My friend's dad passed away. The Chargers give Junior Seau permission to find another team. The movie bombs. We've all got colds. My mom had some health problems. I'm like, what the fuck did I do? I don't know why we didn't go out with an R-rated movie. And I'm guilty of it for not putting up any fight on the PG-13 thing because it seemed like that was the trend. But, you know, all said and done, and now that, you know, the movie didn't make a dime, why we couldn't have put out, you know, an R-rated version of that movie.
Oh, I know that you're hungry. But we have to wait. Our time will come.
When it comes out on home video, all these people that went, oh, that looks like a dud, they're gonna come across it, and 6 months from now, when all this is, they'll go, oh man, I thought they were supposed to be bad. I think, you know, could be, you know, but I'm used to that. And I'd rather have, no, I'd rather put my kids through college and retire, but, you know, it's, you know, I believe we all made a good movie.
With well over a year gone by, the absurd and complex process of making Willard finally comes to a close. What you're seeing is how I saw it happen. How really, it's an achievement in itself that any film gets made, let alone a successful one. That is, depending on your definition of success. But for Glenn, I wondered if he felt that all his efforts and struggles had been worth it.
You know, on a bigger scale, the reward is to work with Rob and all that crew, to spend all that time with them, give an opportunity for you to do this and to, you know, to be a part of something I think Shirley Walker's best work and all of that. That's all great. You know, for me, you know, it's hard for me to go like, oh, this is my thing, because it's Bob Shea gave us, you know, 20-some-odd million bucks and to do it. But, you know, from the time I was, I don't know, 8 or 9, 11 years old, I don't know, that I wanted to do it. And I think, you know, I could put shots together and there was a tone and there were some themes and, you know, I made a bunch of mistakes, but, you know, that you know, I did it. You know, there's a lot of people that want to, you know, never play for the Padres or the Chargers, and you're not going to play for the Leafs, so this is all we got, you know.